Hello everybody, I am here from the home office today because I undertook a little bit of a Sunday afternoon project. I love investing in real estate and I have flipped a bunch of houses throughout my investing career. And I was curious to see if this segment of the real estate investing space could be gaining steam in the Calgary market. And so what I did, let me just minimize myself here. I went to the system. I'm a realtor, so I can get all the sold data that shows up. And I grabbed every single sale that occurred in Calgary over the last 12 months, and then I ran a bit of an algorithm on it to give me the addresses that showed up twice within a 12-month period. The logic being that if you were flipping a house or if you're staying in a house to live in, you're probably not going to sell it after a year. So if it did trade twice within a 12-month period, it could very well be that it was purchased with the intent to resell for profit after being fixed up. And so I found 560 data points for that, which means 230 flips that have occurred in Calgary over a 12-month period from February 21 to February 2022. These things are so cool to look at. I mean, I'll just pick a couple here. Here's one in Silver Springs, bought for $490,000, and then later sold for $710,000. So I mean, let's get a little bit of a look at this place. This is Silver Springs. I love Silver Springs. I've owned several rental properties in this community, and it doesn't get as much respect as I think it deserves. Anyways, this is a nice looking property, good bones here. I got a bit of an idea of what I would do if I was flipping this house, and so let's just see what these guys have done here. If we look at the sale at $710,000, and yes, they've opened up the kitchen here, the living room. You can see here gorgeous lighting inside. Over here it's staged, so all of this furniture obviously is placed in here to look great on the photos and to bring buyers into it. And I mean, these transformations just don't get old. I love seeing the befores and afters on these things. So I don't want to look at this forever because there's 230 of them, but maybe we can find another one over here to look at. Let's close this one out. Beddington is a community I like. Let's try this. Here's one. Bought for, where'd we go? We were right here. Bought for $382,000, sold for $589,000. So let's look at this to see. Looking at these pictures, this looks like a Beddington single family house. You've got this sort of old dated 80s beige siding here, looking a little tired on a dreary day, and this realtor's not helping his client at all. Look at this picture, really terrible lighting. Make sure you get pro photos when you go to sell your properties, guys, even if you're not flipping it, because this just looks like somebody's cell phone pictures in here. But anyways, here's the before. Let's take a look at the after to get a sense for what this looks like now. And here we are. They've changed out the old siding. They put in a new garage door. It certainly looks much better here. Good looking listing here. I want to see the inside to see what they did, so I'm going to skip ahead. And look at this, gorgeous. This is another pro job. So you've got nice lighting fixtures in here. You've got good pot lights on the top. You've got a center island with a microwave. You're just not going to find that in Beddington. This is how flippers do it. Is they follow the styles of the newer home builders, and they try and emulate that in the inner city or the sort of inner suburbs, and that's what it looks like these guys have done with this place. So anyways, it's easy to get distracted and look at this. I mean, I love looking at houses. We talk so much about data and trends and everything here, but it's nice to actually look at some real estate. So this was super cool to do. Then there's listings all over the place here. It really surprised me. I expected them to be clustered in some of the older neighborhoods and a little bit more inner city, but we're seeing this basically everywhere south of Stony Trail, up north there, and then all the way down through into the southern part of Calgary too. The trend just continues here, just taking a minute to load up the data points. But you can see they're happening all over the place. So it's not like you need to just focus in on a specific community for house flipping. You can do it anywhere you find a decent deal. So those are some of the locations and kind of what they look like. Let's jump into the data here next. So here's my data set, a nice clean looking table. And this is, again, all of the sales data just dumped out of the back end of Realtor.ca to allow me to work with it. And so here's what I learned. In terms, the first thing I wanted to find out was, well, what price points are the most popular for this? And it looks like you've got anywhere between 300, 400, and 500. That's really the thick of the market for this. Very few flippers are doing it in the middle luxury market here. There's really less than 10 of them that are happening in the high, like just north of $500,000 through to $1 million. You're just not seeing as much activity there. And then the sales prices, of course, are just moving up market a little bit, which would make sense. You have to be able to sell for more money than you bought it for in order to be in business in this field. So when you look at both of them together, you can see here the blue is the buy price, and then the green is the sales price afterwards. And what was really neat here to see $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, a couple at $900,000, which is risky for a flipper to do. I mean, if you're going to be holding on to a property that's $800,000 or $900,000, you're going to be cutting a lot of checks there because it's the cost of holding it. I mean, you're not just talking about your labor material when you're flipping houses, but there's also the financing for this. And so to hold on to an $800,000 or $900,000 house is not cheap. And if you're going to flip houses, start further down here, start in a more modest price point, and leave the upper ends to the bona fide pros, because it's expensive with no rental income coming in while you're waiting for your property to sell. So what about the spreads? Let's talk about that. So the spreads that I'm talking about here are the difference in between the sale price after the renovation was completed and the buy price that the investor or the flipper bought the property at. You can see here, there's some that are happening under $50,000, and I just think that these must be people that have missed the mark, because if you're only making 50 grand, you're not going to have enough there to cover off all of the expenses. And even at 100,000, this seems to be the most the most frequent spread is in $100,000, and that's about what you need for that, in order to be able to make it work. But you are seeing spreads up here in the $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 range, and then it trails off as you would expect, not all that different from just the acquisitions of real estate up in this price point. If you want to make that much more money on something, you really need to take it through a significant transformation. And so we are seeing most of the exits yielding spreads in the $100,000 to $250,000 range, which I thought was interesting. Now, what about the types of properties getting flipped? So not that surprisingly, most of them are detached. This is by far the most common type of real estate in Calgary. Calgary is a suburban single-family city, and so most of the houses being flipped are detached. It's also easier for flippers to work in detached homes because they don't have to worry about condo bylaws or anything else. But that doesn't mean that you can't flip condos and still make money. We've got 26 row townhouses here and 16 condos, 16 apartment style condos that are making the list here, and then 18 semi-detached. So by and large, it is the detached market segment that is doing most of the volume here, but that doesn't mean that the other ones don't work as well either. Now, what about the communities? What about where these are happening? So when we looked at the map, we could kind of see that these things were happening all over Calgary, and it's backed up by the data table here in that we've got a very uniform spread of locations. There are no standout communities here. I mean, Redstone, Lake Buena Vista, Saddle Ridge, we're just talking half a dozen projects in here. So it's not like there's a few communities that flippers are zeroing into. You can do this anywhere in the city as long as you know your numbers, you know your margins, you know how much it's going to cost you to go and complete a project. So this to me was amongst the most striking takeaways, is that we're not seeing clusters. And look at this, like 3s and 2s and 1s over all of these different communities here. People are trying these things out everywhere, which was super neat. So I thought all of that was a really cool thing to do. I lost myself looking at my iPad for the better part of an hour, just looking at all the before and afters with these incredible transformations that we've seen here. So flipping houses is not easy. It's not for everybody. It's definitely, they make it look really easy on HGTV and all the TV shows about flipping. To do it in practice for, playing for keeps is a completely different game out there. but still fun to see this. And I do feel that this is a strategy that experienced investors could keep in mind for our market going forward. We're going to see appreciation, and buyers are not going to have as much selection and choice. And so being out there with a property where they know everything has been done, where it looks brand new when they go to buy it, there are going to be buyers that will pay for that convenience, and investors might be able to make some money providing that great product to them. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so you can make sure you get updated with all of our cool Calgary real estate content. And I wanted to thank you very much for watching the video this far. Hopefully you learned something about flipping houses in Calgary, and we will see you guys next video. Bye now.